1975, I was struck by lightning while talking on the telephone. And this whole spiritual search and this whole business about spiritual reality, I come from South Carolina. Everybody goes to hell where I come from. There is no question that if you were born in sin and you were in the South, those fundamentalists are going to make sure that you're afraid of Jesus and you're going to go to hell.
That's why I'm moving to North Carolina.
That's even worse. That is hell. So in 1975, when I got struck by lightning, what happened in my changing perspective of time was this. What I never believed in, had no idea, no focal point, no paradigm to understand it by. A near-death experience. One day I never believed in any of this stuff. The next day I was dead, and the day after that I became everything I never believed in. And my last 30 years has been an internal search to not if it's true, but how it works. Not whether there's a life after death, but what are the mechanisms and its purpose. Not whether there is eternal life, but the direction and intent of eternal life. Not whether there is a divine architect, or there are angels or beings of great power, presence, and potential, but who are they? Everybody in this room knows that time is changing. It is moving faster. A day goes by faster now than ever. You never have enough time. It's not that the 24 hours has changed. His consciousness is changing. This is occurring, whether you like it or not. It's occurring because of cosmic potential and possibilities, but also the development of technology and integrated technology. You can instantly be anywhere in the world on a computer. You can roam cyberspace. So all of a sudden, the fact that that is possible, time has changed. Because what you can put into the time that you are perceiving is a vast, greater proponent of knowledge. Next, time is changing. We don't even live in the same universe we lived in last year. We don't live in the same universe. The world as we know it has passed away. We live in a new solar system. All of a sudden, guys, everything that you've ever heard or really thought about the universe is changed.
The Mayans' advanced knowledge of astrology and mathematics enabled them to create a system of calendars that are more precise than our current Gregorian calendar. On December 21st, 2012, the Earth and Sun are aligned with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, an event that only occurs once every 26,000 years. On that day, we go into what's called the precession of the equinoxes, which is also an event that occurs only once every 26,000 years. To this day, the Mayan calendar can predict every lunar eclipse within 30 seconds.
Let's talk about what's going to happen at the end of the Mayan calendar. And then we will kind of backtrack a little bit and go into what's happening right now in our immediate future. Okay? What happens? What happens on the Mayan calendar, October 28th, 2011, is absolutely everything, all at the same time. There is an acceleration of more and more of creation available in every moment. You got that? More and more of everything available in every moment. We've already looked at the past and saw all of the different, up to this point, it's all still available. And more is becoming available in every single moment. What happens, finally, is the acceleration gets so great that absolutely everything which is infinitely possible all happens at exactly the same time. Which is the truth in the first place. Consciousness or creation exists in total, all past, all future, all exist right now.
As all of this gestalt, the ultimate meaning of why we're pursuing these investigations, came to a critical mass, one number kind of floated up, and I don't mean 19.5. That was the number 2012. Because the more we delved into the geometry that we found at Cydonia, and the connections to sacred sites here on this planet, and the traditions of ancient wisdom keepers, like the Maya, like the Hopi in the American tradition, like the Celts in the European tradition, like the Egyptians, like the Polynesians, the more we see extraordinary common threads, which on the one hand are told as stories to preserve the narrative, preserve the spine of information. And on the other hand, they're told in terms of the numbers. If you start reading sacred traditions, it doesn't matter whether they're the Vedic, whether they're the Mayan, or the Egyptian, you wind up looking at the same sets of numbers over and over again. And it becomes very obvious as you get into this over years and even decades that those numbers are the key essentials, and the stories which entrain and transmit the numbers are essentially the carrier wave. They're the mechanism whereby peoples all over this planet, indigenous peoples, native peoples, transmigrational peoples, have preserved the essence of these numbers because there is information in those numbers, and the information is important both to our past and, more relevant, they're important to our future.
Right now, everything seems to be speeding up. I mean, this is just, it's like a, I mean, if a lot of the psychedelic thinkers are interested in this whole 2012 date as some kind of culmination point. And both Terence McKenna and Jose Arguelles sort of see that maybe we've been thinking about time different in the wrong way, that we have this linear model of time, and time is actually a kind of waveform or a kind of fractal, that repeats on different scales and in different ways, and a big wave sort of crests and ends in 2012. So at that point, there has to be a kind of switch over to different world conception. And part of that process now seems to be a kind of very tight, like almost like fugue state, you know, where the destruction is going faster and faster. The reintegration of these ancient knowledge systems is also going faster and faster.
That there is a cosmic event occurring that's causing 24 hours to be not enough time. You know more, you're more aware, you have more feelings, you realize more things. So it's not really time changing, it's you. Because of a cosmic flow of energy that's moving through this universe that can be measured scientifically. Because we sit at the end of a 26,000-year cycle called the precession of the equinox. Our little galaxy, this 1.1 billion planets and stars called the Milky Way, has now traveled 26,000 years to circle what we call the signs of the zodiacs, but through each of the 12 constellations that we now know to be our particular part of the universe.
It almost seems like this galactic alignment, which of course targets the years around 2012, was known to the oldest civilizations in Vedic India and in Egypt, and they believed that these kinds of alignments to the center of the galaxy stimulate transformation on the planet.
And if you do a geological study, doing core drillings into Earth, you realize that this has occurred. You realize that this has occurred many, 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 many times in the Earth's past. Roughly every 26,000 years. Scientifically proven.
Other civilizations, indigenous civilizations, had different kinds of calendars. Hardly any of them, especially the central calendars of civilizations, had to do with this orbit. The archaeologists who have studied ancient civilizations have found that there are many, many calendars, most of them having 360 days. The Tibetan calendar, the Chinese calendar, the Maori calendar, the Celtic calendar, the Hebrew calendar have 360 days, not 365 1/4 days. Of course, we've been taught by our educational institutions that those poor primitive people just didn't have it. They just had an approximate solar year that they counted. And they were just too dumb to know the truth. Excuse me, but we're going to stand that on its head today.
Almost universally, the ancient calendars point to this decade, to this time in history, as being unique not only in human history, as we have known it for the last 200,000 years or so, to Earth history, to geologic history as well. Almost universally, the calendars, Chinese calendars, Tibetan calendars, the Mayan calendars, the Egyptian calendars, that were developed thousands of years ago end in these days. They end in this time, and they all point to now as being a time that is very unique in history.